Hello, I am Jonathan Rosenfeld, and today I am joined with Jerry Bekkerman. And today we are going to talk a little bit about uninsured motorists and uninsured motorist coverage in particular. And if you are listening to this podcast or watching the video and are thinking to yourself, well, that sounds like a really sort of boring, esoteric, random topic. Well, before you automatically write this off, um, listen to this for a few minutes. In today's world, post-COVID, we are seeing more and more people impacted financially by the COVID-19 fallout, and the incidence of uninsured motorists on the road in Illinois and across the country is really, 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 unfortunately, on the rise. People are really facing some economic hardship today that they may not have faced in the past. And when it comes to making ends meet, one of the things that they are doing, unfortunately, is they are going without liability insurance coverage when they get behind the wheel. And despite the fact that there is mandatory auto insurance in Illinois, there are almost 13% of the motorists on the road today are driving without any type of liability coverage. So today, I want to talk with Jerry about these situations and about what drivers can do and what you can do to protect yourself and your family from getting in an accident with a uninsured driver and really sort of being left out to dry in terms of a financial recovery. So, Jerry, first off, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Nice to see you again, and always happy to talk about the fascinating world of uninsured motorist coverage.
It is indeed a fascinating topic.
Well, it's
Jerry,
fascinating in the sense that it's such a lifesaver to so many clients, and I'll give some stories about just what this unknown insurance provision can really do and how it can change someone's life for the better. But go ahead. I'll give you those examples in a little bit.
no, I think that it's one of those things where, you get your insurance policy and it's pages and pages and pages of super fine print, and you may read the first page or whatever, and then you sort of shake your head and bury it in the sand and scribble off and send your payment. But it's an important thing to have when the situation arises and you're actually really grateful that you have it. So I guess to begin with, can you just sort of give us a little bit of an explanation about what uninsured motorist coverage is?
Sure. Let me do this. Let me tell you the story about why, and we'll kind of work backwards, on why it's so important and what the benefit of having it is, and then I'll explain the nuances, because the story is always a nice little more interesting way to get an understanding of the topic. I had a client who happened to just be a friend of mine. He was out on a date with the girl. They were driving. It was their first date. They were coming back from dinner, and they got in a really bad accident here in Chicago off of Wacker Drive, actually right in front of our office. This was a while back. Fortunately, at that time, they were struck by a vehicle that had adequate insurance. It was a $250,000 insurance policy. It was a Cadillac, something or other corporate car, and there was enough damages for them to recover from, this big fireball of an accident they were hospitalized for, et cetera, et cetera. I told him at that time, Jake, John, you're very lucky that this car had coverage, because I looked at your insurance policy and you only have $50,000 of uninsured or underinsured motorist. I said, you really, really should talk to a broker and get that increased, because you never know when you get in an accident and the other person doesn't have $250,000 of available insurance. They may only have 25, they may only have 50. Took that advice to heart. They actually wound up getting married, the same friends of mine. 6 years later, they got into a pickup truck out in another state with four other friends out on a day of water skiing, whatever, just enjoying some outdoor activities in a rural part of the state. And the driver of the car that they were in made an illegal U-turn in front of another pickup truck and caused a terrible, terrible accident where 4 people, including my friends who were in the car, were seriously injured again. 1 person passed away, and there's a total of 7 injured people all in this case, including a fatality. The driver who had the car that they were in had $50,000. The driver of the other car, who may have been at fault, also had $50,000. That is a total of $100,000 that was to be split between 7 people, including the estate of someone that passed away. And my friend had significant injuries, hospitalized, $500,000 in medical bills. Well, he took my advice that I gave him those 5 years back to heart and bought $1 million worth of uninsured motorist coverage, which, and I'll explain what that is in a sec, didn't cost him a lot of money, cost him a couple $100 per year, but he took my advice to heart. Because he purchased that and spent $200 or whatever it was to have that coverage, he was able, and we were able to secure for him, a total of $1.1 million in recovery for his medical bills, his pain and suffering, his loss of income, whereas otherwise he would have only been able to recover, I think, about $8,000. So we're talking just a wild swing and life-changing and important money and deserving money for the kind of injuries that he sustained without having any fault of his own and being through such a tragic accident, having lost a friend. So that's kind of what the end goal of getting this coverage is. What is it? What is this magic thing that gives you money? It's basically a provision in an insurance policy that provides coverage to you if you are injured in a motor vehicle accident that covers you above and beyond what the person that injured you covers on their car. So if John and I get in an accident and I carry $100,000 of insurance and I rear end John at 60 miles an hour because I'm texting and watching, the NCAA tournament on my phone instead of paying attention to the road, and poor John is badly injured, breaks every bone in his body, goes to the hospital. He wants to sue me. He wants to file a claim against my insurance. My insurance will say, listen, this guy, Gerald Bekkerman, he's kind of a loser. He only has, he doesn't have any assets. He owes a lot of credit card debt. He's basically bankrupt. He has $100,000 of insurance. We'll give it to you. Good luck. I know you have $250,000 worth of medical bills. I know you're going to miss a year of work. I know you have scarring and you're going to be in pain the rest of your life, but all we got is $100,000. Godspeed. Now, John, being the astute attorney that he is, obviously carries a large uninsured motorist policy. So that means at some point back in the day, kind of like my friend, he contacted his broker. And that doesn't have to be a broker. It could be online through Geico. It could be online through State Farm, Progressive. And he chose to increase his limits for uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage to a high number, maybe 500, maybe $1 million. And he chose to pay a little bit of an extra premium for it. And they're really not large premiums. He chose to pay another couple of $100 per year for the protection. I call it kind of like a life insurance policy or hazard pay policy of some sort. But he chose to have this uninsured, underinsured coverage, and that gives him a gap of coverage from whatever me, the deadbeat, with $100,000 only that my insurance can give him, up to whatever he paid for. So if it's my coverage is 100, my insurance company gives it to John for the injuries I caused him, his own insurance then steps in, and whatever limits he paid for, if it's 500, they'll give him an additional $400,000 for his medical bills, his lost time from work. If it's $1 million that John has in uninsured or underinsured coverage, it would be an extra $900,000 that he could collect, okay, from his insurance company. Doesn't mean they're going to hand it over to you. You still got to prove your case. You got to go to arbitration. I'll explain the nuances, but it gives you an opportunity to recover more money than someone like me that carries 100, or someone that's even more of a deadbeat and doesn't buy any insurance. Kind of like John said, so many percentage of people don't carry any insurance. So a zero, you get nothing from me. Your insurance would step in and cover that portion.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that in Illinois and other states, while liability insurance is mandatory, the limits, the minimum coverage limits are extremely, extremely low. The state of Illinois recently raised the minimum to $25,000 in terms of liability coverage. And that $25,000, that covers situations where, you know, a person may have catastrophic injuries. You may, you know, have multiple fractures, you know, extended hospitalization. You may actually, you know, or a family member actually may die in an accident. And at the end of the day, you are essentially going to be limited to, in terms of collecting from the person who may have caused the accident, by the limits of their insurance coverage. Most people, I think, don't realize that when someone says, hey, I have full coverage, that basically just means that they have the minimum coverage out there. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have sufficient coverage to cover a loss or an injury. And I think that's something that a lot of times people naively may think, hey, all right, that guy's got full coverage, I'm good. The other thing that I think it would just add is that, well, you know, if someone even sues the person who caused the accident individually, most people don't have, you know, significant liquid assets to satisfy a judgment against them for a significant injury.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Have, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, sitting under their bed or in their bank account to satisfy a situation like that. So all the more reason to, you know, if you can afford to have a Netflix account, you can afford to have uninsured motorist coverage in a relatively significant amount. So I think all your suggestions are really, really important for anyone out there who's involved or even considering, you know, getting any type of insurance coverage for their vehicle.
And it doesn't just cover you, uninsured or underinsured coverage. It also covers your family members, members of your household. So we have a lot of cases where 16-year-old, you know, the parents gave the car to the 16-year-old. The 16-year-old's not at fault. They get in a hit and run by a drunk driver who's never caught. They're badly injured. They're the 16-year-old, and the parents' policy that they have on their car, you know, gives $500,000 of uninsured motorist, uninsured insurance motorist coverage would apply to that child's medical bills, injuries, and we've had great success recovering those kind of amounts for those kids. And if parents didn't pay for those policies, you know, shell out that, like that Netflix account analogy, and pay out, you know, a couple $100 a year, a couple $100 a year to have this coverage and increased limits, then that child of theirs would recover nothing potentially from an at-fault driver. So it's really, really important. And another thing that you mentioned, John, you know, a personal injury judgment or verdict kind of goes last in line against an at-fault party. So if you don't have assets and you don't have a couple $100,000 under your bed, which most people don't, and you only carry $100,000 of insurance, and I badly injured John, right? John didn't pay for any uninsured, underinsured, you know, extra levels for himself. And he's going to sue me. He doesn't want to just take $100,000, and he goes to court and he gets a judgment against me for $1 million. Well, guess what? It's not like I'm going to pay him $1 million. He goes last in line behind home mortgages, credit cards, student loans, any and all other creditors. Personal injury kind of goes last in line. For example, back in I don't know if people remember 2008, there was a big recession, and General Motors had a lot of cases pending against them for faulty airbags, rollovers, just a lot of product liability lawsuits. All those had to take a pause during the restructuring and bankruptcies and all that. I mean, it's just really hard to get assets collect, even against corporations sometimes. Against individuals and car accidents, it's near impossible. So the best protection you can give yourself and your family members is to pay a little bit extra on that premium, get uninsured or underinsured coverage at limits that are at a minimum 250,000, upwards of 500, and even $1 million if it's or more if it's doable.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that a lot of times people don't realize with uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage is other situations that may give rise to coverage. For example, let's say you're out, walking with your kids, and God forbid, someone blows a stop sign and hits your family or something as pedestrians. There could be coverage. If you're a bicyclist and you're doing your best and you're staying in the lane and someone, God forbid, hits you. If you decide to jump in a car with a friend or something, these are all situations where uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage would apply, and it could really not just come in handy, but really protect yourself and your family from significant financial hardship that you could endure as a result of your injuries. So I think that this is all really, really important, because a lot of times people don't realize, the intricacies of this stuff until way after the fact, where, it's too little too late, as I like to say sometimes. So this is good advice. Now, I just want to talk with you real quickly a little bit more about how these cases, uninsured motorist coverage cases, potentially could get resolved, as opposed to traditional motor vehicle accident cases where, let's say, using your analogy again, you rear end me and I decide, hey, you know what, I'm hurt, my back is messed up, I'm going to file a lawsuit against you. In a situation involving an uninsured motorist or an underinsured motorist, can you explain just a little bit how that process works in terms of resolving the case? Because as far as I'm aware, you don't go out and just necessarily file a lawsuit. There's a certain procedure that has to be followed, correct?
Absolutely, yes. So the uninsured and underinsured world takes place in an arbitration setting. So there's no one to sue. You can't sue your own insurance company. You got to follow the Arbitration Act. It's, no one reads it, but when you get an insurance policy, you get a pamphlet that big containing all the provisions. We, the lawyers, we read them. So we have to follow them. But in long and short is there's no judge, there's no jury overseeing your case. You got to follow certain steps. You still got to work with an attorney. You got to answer your discovery documents. You got to produce your medical records, your background, your work information. You have to sit for, a quasi deposition. They call it a recorded statement, talking about the accident, your injuries, your damages, everything you claim you've lost and why you're seeking compensation. Your doctors have to give supporting documentation and depositions to support your injuries. Your employer must support your lost wages. I mean, all the same steps that we would take in a jury trial, except there's no jury. There's a 3-panel arbitrator typically that makes decisions, weighs all the evidence, and then gives you an award. They move a little bit slower. There's no jury trial mechanism, unfortunately, so the uninsured, underinsured cases sometimes take a little bit longer, but the results, usually your insurance company is going to pay you fair value on a case that's legitimate, that you've sustained legitimate injuries, because you paid for this coverage, right? It's an insurance policy you bought for yourself. You've paid the money to this, to Allstate or State Farm or Zurich to give you this coverage, and ultimately these cases get result in favorable outcomes. And all you have to do really to get this process going, contact an attorney and we notify them of our intent to proceed to arbitration under your uninsured or underinsured policy. The ball gets rolling, and it's as simple as that.
No, these are important things that hopefully people won't have to deal with, but it's nice to know that there are seasoned attorneys out there who can really help people navigate through a potentially really difficult time and uncertain time. So I want to thank you today for joining me, and this is great information, and thank you.
Of course, thank you, John. Happy to help.